Girl, stop playing.
Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Stop Playing podcast. It's your favorite homegirl, Koereyelle, here to encourage you to stop playing with your potential and start working for what you want in life and in love. You already know that I believe you can have it all. You can make the money and you can get the honey as long as you are willing to work. And today I get to introduce you to a working woman who not only has had major success in her own business, but she's created resources to help you do the same. Sara Simpson is a small business owner, consultant, and advocate as the CEO of Simpson Walker Contracting Corp., which is a construction management business. She has grown the company in 10 years, securing 8 government contracts. 2 of those contracts being 5-year terms. Sara has curated educational courses to help other companies strategically position their business, taking it from surviving to success with government contracts. Welcome to the podcast, Sara.
Thank you so much, Koereyelle.
Yes, so I'm excited. I was telling you before we came on air that I'm super excited about this conversation because I've personally been looking into the government contract space. I've talked to some super successful government contractors. Y'all who are subscribed to the podcast, you know we've had a couple people on the show to just give us like some of the possibilities, like what's actually possible in the government contract space. I'm always like mind blown of what the government is out here buying and supplying and paying for. And so I love being able to have these conversations to just open up the possibilities for other women of how they can do business with the government outside of the traditional like small business space that we typically hear about. So before we get into like the nitty gritty of how government contracts work and what the potential is, how did you even get into the space? Like, how did you start as a government contractor?
Well, I'll have to give the credit to my father. He's a carpenter by trade, and he had a construction business prior to the one we started together. And so that's how I really got into the business. He is a carpenter. He started his construction business, and then he kind of semi-retired, kind of got out of it, and then he wanted to start it back up. And the way they did business in the 80s and 90s is not how they really do business now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I came in. My background is in social work. So I was a social worker, and I got tired of that business and got tired of, being paid low.
Mm-hmm.
So I transitioned over into business. I studied business. After I graduated college, I worked in social services for a little bit, and then I got my MBA in 2012. And then after that, I did a construction program with this company called Turner. It's like a larger construction company. And then I did another emerging leaders program with the SBA, the Small Business
Mm-hmm.
Administration. And then, yeah, we've just been going ever since. Like, I really, really, really studied this business because I really wanted to be successful in this business. So after 10 years, this is where we are today.
Listen, you just said so much. So first of all, shout out to your daddy, okay, for really paving the way of being able to
Yeah.
create generational wealth. He did it in his own way, right? But there's so many ways that we can go about setting our children up for success. And so I love that you are the product of that, but now you can turn around, and potentially do the same thing. And there's so many of us that miss out on these opportunities because we are thinking, okay, well, I can only be successful in this one cookie cutter way. Like I have to go to college, got to get the degree, I got to work in this career for 20, 30 plus years, then retire. And then, maybe I can,
Yeah, I mean, that's
live
not for
my life.
everybody, especially for
Right.
millennials in our generation. We're, the risk takers, we're
Yep.
the overachievers. And yes, we did go that route, but now we're finding new routes. We're
Yep.
finding other ways to make money. And then it's just not with the federal government, it's with the city, like your city that you live in, then the county, and then the state, and then, Biden, and then that's the federal government. So people even miss out on city government contracts and
Yep.
state government contracts and county, and then you got
Mm-hmm.
the federal government. So those are 4 bags that you could potentially be
Missing
in
it.
if
Yep.
you just um, register your business. Like you have to register your business, and then
Wait,
you
wait,
have
wait. Don't tell us the step shit. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. We gonna get to that. We gonna get to that. But I gotta shout you out one more time because the first shout out was for your father
yeah,
for even being in position to be able to bring you on, and now you all have both created success for yourselves, but together, right? But
yes,
then
because
you did
the
not, you
structure.
took it a step further. So this shout out is for you because you took it a step further. And instead of saying, okay, well, daddy, you got the skills, let me just ride your coattails, you studied, right? You wanted to know how can we make this the most successful business possible. So you wanted to make sure that you had, even though he had the experience, now you have the education that you all can bring together to be able to make this, a 7-figure business. And so I love that you can be an example and a testament of what's possible when we take our skills, we take our experiences, we couple it with this education that we were, led to believe that
So
we have to
we pay
have.
for it. We pay for it. We pay for
Exactly. Yes, that we've paid for, and now it can pay off, right? So
it.
shout
Yes.
out to both of you for, seeing the vision and being able to bring it together. Before I have you talk about the steps or like, the pieces of the puzzle in order
Mhm.
to make this possible, what would you say are like some misconceptions that people have about being able to get these contracts?
The misconception is that you can't do it. The misconception is that you're too small. Misconceptions that you're not experienced enough. So I would say some of those are the misconceptions that
Mhm.
the federal government is looking for you. The federal government does do business with minorities, women, um, and the federal government also does business with small companies. Like you don't have to be a multi-million dollar company. Small business, uh, I guess legally, it's like 500 employees or less, and I
That's
think
all of us.
$30 or less. So if you're a sole proprietor, if you have LLC, corporation, if you have 500 employees or less, you are considered a small business in the United States.
And one of the things that we don't know, that's why I love being able to have these conversations because it's not often that you bump into a government contractor that can tell you like how this works and how it's possible. And so if you don't know anybody who's done the thing, you don't think that you can do the thing. So I love that you are able to be an example of a young millennial Black woman who has been able to build this thing out, right? And
Yes.
so because we do a lot of times have those limiting beliefs like, well, I don't have experience doing this, so now I can't do it. I don't have, the big enough team to be able to do it. Like we tell ourselves all of these limiting beliefs, and all that does is literally limit our outcome. So a lot of times we're our own worst enemy. Like we are in our own way putting up obstacles that really don't even exist. And there's money out there specifically set aside for small businesses.
Yes, and all you in the city is the same way, the state, they all have pools and pockets of money that they do business with small businesses. So the money is out there. You just have to find your niche. Like, do you want to work with the city only, or the state, or
Mhm.
the county, or the federal government? And what is the federal government? Like, okay, you got the VA hospitals, you have the federal prisons, you have the military bases, the Air Force bases, the Navy. So all of that falls under the federal government. I know people, want
Mhm.
vending machines. If they're building a federal prison, those federal prisons are going to be vending machines. If the VA hospital needs to be remodeled or they're adding on to something, they will need those services. I mean, there's a slew of services. My business is in construction, so we typically do like remodeling and painting. So that's basically the services that we provide is remodeling and painting. But there's so many other things. Even when we do projects, I hire other small businesses. Like sometimes we need porta potties, or we need a dumpster for the trash for the construction, or we need storage units and bins to store equipment and materials and supplies overnight. So there's other avenues of where we, hire small businesses as well, being a government contractor and then hiring small business for the things that we need within uh, the business.
So is that when it comes down to like being the prime and then
Yeah.
getting subcontractors.
Yeah, so the subcontractors, it would be an electrician, it would be a plumber, it would be the, the do the HVAC, that's the air conditioning. And sometimes we would, if they need something special, like a specialty, they put designs on the ceilings and things like that. So that type of thing, we use subcontractors for, because one, we're not licensed to do plumbing or electric. We the general commercial contracting license is just to build.
Mm.
So we have to hire out the electricians, the plumbers, and all that stuff. So, but within that, if a building is being built, like, there's so many opportunities for you to do business, because even on larger construction projects, they need food trucks. People, they're going to be hungry for
Mm.
lunch. They need food trucks out there, or in the larger construction companies, they pay for those meals sometimes, because the guys can't always go get lunch, so they just bring it to them.
So you have named the vending machines, the food
Mhm,
trucks. I'm
mhm,
imagining if you're doing a remodel, there's like an interior decorator that might be contracted. These are things that Black women, we think about starting these businesses, but we
mhm.
automatically go to, how can I sell this to a person, an individual? Like, how can I go get one customer one by one versus how can I get a contract, guaranteed, predictable income for doing this same exact thing, running this same type of business. So thank you for that, because that's literally, I know somebody's like wheels are spinning now of like, oh my God, I didn't know that I could get a contract for this vending machine, or I could get a contract, for what I'm really already doing. Now, I do love being able to inspire and, like I said, get the ideas out there for maybe income streams that people haven't thought about. But I do want to give a realistic expectation of what it's like once you start getting these contracts. So if you could think of like the biggest challenge as a government contractor, what would you say that would be?
Okay, so for our business, it's the pay. So sometimes it's 30-day, 60-day, 90-day net. So if you
Explain what
have
that means. Explain what net means.
net, means you don't get paid for 30 days. You do the work. This is in construction now. I don't know about other businesses, but in construction, you do the work, you bill for the work, and then you get paid. It depends, but typically it's 30 days. And then, so that's 30-day net.
Mm-hmm. And then 60, 90 is the same thing. You do the work and then 60
Yeah.
days out or 90 days
Go
out.
for it.
So this
Now,
means that you are funding these
yeah.
these jobs
So
that you're doing.
this is where you need to have your finances in order. You need a line of credit to hold you over until you get paid. Now, if you go to the bank and you show them your contracts, like, hey, I got a 5-year contract with, they'll be more inclined to give you a line of credit. But you have to have a little money in the bank, but they would be more inclined to give you a line of credit if you can show that you
Mm-hmm.
have a contract with the city or the state for 5 years. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we know that you're going to be
You're
making
good
money.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So a line of credit is what you need to get your finances in order. Have an accountant, a CPA, and a lawyer.
Listen, yes.
Because sometimes you're dealing with contracts, and there's sometimes those contracts are 100 pages, at least in construction. So you have to have a lawyer go over everything to make sure that you're covered. And then you also have to have bonding, insurance to bond the job, to make sure that, if anything goes wrong, you're covered by insurance, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And so what would you say? That's definitely a challenge. Okay. I never even thought about the pay, because that's a thing. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you mentioned like these are the conversations that I think is so important, because we, like, on Instagram, everybody's talking about government contracts. Like, everybody's talking about doing the things you can go out and you can get 10 million, billion, $1 trillion. But I have not heard anybody say, but make sure you got a line of credit. Make sure you got your finances in order, because you could have this multi-million-dollar contract, but you got to do the work first. You
Yeah,
might
so
not get
people
paid for 30 or 60 or 90 days.
correct. So they try to be a little bit faster with small businesses because they know that, but typically, you have other people doing this paperwork. So once you send in your invoice, you don't know how long it's going to take them to, push that paperwork through. But contractually, it's supposed to be 30 days, sometimes 15, but it's sketchy. 30, I would say 30.
So, what would you say is the biggest benefit of doing business with the government?
The biggest benefit is that you'll have a customer for life. You have to look at the government as your customer. The city, the state, the federal government, they ain't going nowhere. We'll have new presidents, we'll have new senators, but they ain't going nowhere. So I would say the benefit is that you will always be in business as long as you want to with them.
Listen, they aren't going anywhere. This is true. You'll always have a customer for life. Okay. So now let's get into like the formula for this. You started to get into the process of what's necessary, but I think this part too is a limiting belief for a lot of people because they might be overthinking the process. So talk to us about the process for getting started so that you can even be in position to get these government contracts.
Okay, so you got to have a business. So either you providing a product or a service, and then whatever city, state, county you live in, look at their procurement sites, see what they're buying, see what they're looking for, see how long the contracts are, see, how the upfront costs, like how much money is it going to take you? Do you have the money to fund this contract? Like, if they want, for example, they want 100 TVs. Do you have the capital to buy those 100 TVs and deliver them? And a company like mine, like, oh, I need to hire you to put them up for the city or whatever. So I think it's just more so having a business, a product, service. This is your lane. This is your business. So you should know the ins and out of your business. And then you're going to get a contract. So get a CPA, an attorney to read this contract and go over it to make sure that you can fulfill it. And
Mhm.
because if you can't fulfill it, then that's a legal issue. They trying to, take your money. Um, and
So wait,
then
when you say if you can fulfill it, if you can't fulfill it, is that where the prime comes in or no? Am I thinking about the wrong thing?
okay, so a prime. Okay, so in construction, a prime is the general contractor, and when they oversee the whole project, that's the prime.
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
So in construction, that's the lingo and the terms that they use. So
Got
say for a vending machine business, you don't subcontract that out. Like that's your
mhm.
business, the vending machine business. So if you had a vending machine, you would have a contract with the city. You wouldn't be considered a prime. That's construction language.
Got you. Okay. Okay. So but then you can get other people to do the parts of it that you don't personally do. And that would be your
Correct.
sub.
Yes, that would be my
So
sub. So my electrician, my plumber, my HVAC guy. If I need materials and supplies like the dumpsters, the porta potties, things like that.
and
So they
so do
would be
you
my subcontractor, and I have to, pay them out of my money. Like
out of what you got for the
I'm not
contract?
paid by the government, I'll pay my subcontractors from what the government paid me.
So do you recommend that people who are just starting in this particular space start out as sub or go
Yeah,
after prime?
I would say start with the city or the state first before you head to the federal government because the federal government wants you to have some type of experience.
Mhm.
Um, because they don't
What
know
about if
you.
you're not the prime though? Does
So
it
if you're
matter?
not the prime, I would select you. So I'm the contractor. So I'm
Mhm.
selecting this business to work for me. That's the
Mhm.
subcontractor. So being the prime selects whoever they choose to subcontract with.
Got you. And does that, I'm imagining that that comes down to having relationships.
Correct. Relationships, and that you know that they can deliver the service, you know that they could do good work, and that you know they will finish the project on time, because in construction is very time sensitive, because they have to get the building open, or they have to get the building ready, or you know they can't have service stop because of construction all the time. So
So it comes down, and this is business across the board, y'all, comes down to relationships and your reputation. You got to know people, and the people you know got to know that you are who you say you are, that you're going to do what you say that you do. And that will take you so far in business. Like I always say, connection is worth more than cash, because cash in your hand today is cool. But if you can establish a relationship with a prime who has multiple contracts, that little cash that you have in your pocket today is nothing compared to the years worth of contracts that can come from you just having a connection. So making sure that you are building relationships and making sure that your reputation is intact is important across the board. Now, before we get into the courses that you've created and how you're able to help other people to step into this space, I want to ask you about certifications. Are certifications necessary in order to be in position to get these contracts? Is that something that you have? Is that something that you recommend? Is that something you talk about?
Um, the certifications help. It's an identifier. Like when the government is looking for a Black woman-owned construction company, they'll, go through their database and see, and they can. So it's basically like an identifier. Um, Again, if you do good work, your name will speak for itself. The certification is just to identify you as a Black woman-owned construction business.
Because they have to give a certain percentage to Black woman owned, disadvantaged, those particular classifications.
So if the city or the state go and ask the federal government for money, they're and the government says yes, then that's a federally funded project. So they have to utilize small businesses. They have to. It's by law. They have to.
So you can position yourself to get paid just by having that identifier. So going through the certification process can be worth it. Okay. So
Yeah.
tell us about how, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, tell us for the people who are listening and they're like, okay, this sounds good. But Sara, how do I really get started? I know you have some resources. So talk a little bit about your resources, and I'm going to drop your website one more time here.
Okay, so everyone asks me, how do you get into government contracting? How does it work? So I created a course, Government Contracting 101, and it's for new businesses. Like you either just started your business or you've been in business for a few years and you want to get into government contracting, but you just don't know how. I created a course, Government Contracting 101, capability statements. That's kind of like your resume for your business, because sometimes the government will ask for your capability statement, and some people are like, what is that? That's just like a resume for your business. It outlines what the work you have done, past and present, and then just just a resume for your business. And then the last one is proposal writing, because sometimes if it's not documents that they want you to fill out, they want you to write a proposal. And a proposal is, how are you going to perform this work? Who are you going to work with? What are the subs you're going to use? They just, depending on the contract, sometimes they just have documents that you fill out, and other times they want you to write a proposal.
So are you writing your own proposals, or is that something you hire out for?
I am. Yes,
Whew.
I did write my own proposals. Yeah.
I love it. Listen, okay, y'all. So you're not just gonna learn from someone who has read about doing the things, who has been taught. She's literally been trained through her experience, right, of how to actually do these things, and now she's teaching you how you can turn around and do it for yourself as
Yeah, when
well.
I studied this business, like, I studied this business. Like, I looked at some proposal examples, and then, I, tweaked and tweeted and, made it my own. So, but yeah, every proposal that I've written, for my business. I wrote it. Like, no, I didn't hire anybody.
Whew. All right, y'all. So Sara, wait, hold on. I'm lying. It's not Sara. It's simpsonwalkerco.com is the
Yes.
website. And then you got to make sure you are staying connected with Sara on Instagram at Simpson Walker Co, so that you can find out the projects that she's working on. Maybe you're in position to be a subcontractor for some of these contracts. Maybe you just want to stay connected, or maybe you want to log on to her website, simpsonwalkerco.com, so that you can take her government contracts 101 course. But get in where you fit in, because we cannot continue to miss out on these coins just because, we don't know what's possible. So once you know better, you got to do better. You now have heard it here. You can get access to some of this government money, have a customer for life once you start getting into this contracting space. Sara, I appreciate you. I have enjoyed learning from you, and I can't wait to hear from all of my listeners who are headed over right now to simpsonwalkerco.com. I'm also going to drop the link in the description below so that you can check her out. Check out her website, stay connected with her on Instagram, and get in where you fit in with these government contracts, y'all. There is money to be made. Thank you for tuning in to another Girl Stop Playing podcast episode. I'll see you on the next show.